Alright guys, we are getting into doing this bull bar now. First off by saying I'm sorry if there's a huge noise of cicadas. I live around a bit of bush and they get quite loud at night time. So if you can't already hear them, you probably will. And I apologise for that, so I'll try not to do much talking so that we can get straight into it and you don't have to hear these stupid cicadas anymore. But tonight we are going to be starting the bull bar bull bar creating, building, making, installing, painting, everything. I'm basically building a bull bar straight from scratch. All I've got is a bull bar bracket to go on the car, and then I'm going to be building everything off that. Now the way I'm going to be doing it, I've already talked to an engineer, so it should be all legal. Everything will be ADR approved so that I can actually go and get it engineered. I'm going to be able to strap a winch onto it, lights, everything, and we're going to be welding it together. Obviously it's made out of steel, things like that. I will go into more in depth when we actually start getting into that stuff and showing you guys a bit more. But for now, tonight my goal is to get the bull bar bracket mounted completely so that tomorrow I can start working on fins that stick out to connect to the bull bar and basically the whole front winch area. I want to start cutting all that steel up and then just tacking it in the next few days, and then we can start working on the sides and so on and so on. I have got maybe 6 days before I want to go away camping to work on this car and try and get it back up. If you saw in my last video, the Raptor one, my alternator actually blew basically that day, which is today still. So that's another thing I have to do in the next few days, is try and get that alternator fixed. Anyway, that's enough talking. I'm going to get the bull bar bracket out. I'm going to start by taking off this lower crash bar because that has to go. The top one I'll probably end up leaving because it just doesn't interfere with anything. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about when I say I got a bull bar bracket, this is pretty much the setup. So this part here bolts onto the front of the chassis, and then you've got your winch spot just there, and the bull bar actually bolts to these fins that stick out. You've got a bunch of other little accessories and things that bolted onto the sides of the chassis rails. Also a heap of nuts and bolts and washers and all sorts of things like that. So that's what we're going to be putting on here. Once this is removed, a plate, you basically bolt it onto the plate that is in there. It's just in there sort of thing. These bolts here are the existing ones, and you just reuse those spots as well as add extras. And then down the side of the rail, that's where the U-bolts and stuff goes, and it sort of just hugs itself around the rails. If I feel energized, I might start marking things up and trying to figure out how I'm going to sort of go about doing all this. But for now, let's get this on the car. Rightio, so at the moment I have the brackets bolted onto the chassis. So as you can see, we've got these two little plates that go around the sides, and if you can kind of see that, I'll show you tomorrow in the daylight anyway, but you can sort of get an idea. It bolts around the chassis. There's another plate on the other side, and it's just U-bolts and a few bolts through the chassis as well. So I'm leaving them a little bit loose at the moment. You can obviously move them around, but they're you know, reasonably done up. Because I'm going to put the actual bracket on now. I'll get it all fine-tuned, I'll lift it up as high as I can, things like that, and then I will lock it off to make sure that it's not going to move, and then I can start sort of figuring out my bull bar or go have some dinner, whichever one, because it's about 9 o'clock, and we'll see what happens. Rightio guys, well it's about 20 past 11 at night. The bull bar bracket is finally on and completely on in its final position. Hopefully I don't have to take this off again. I'm thinking that I can just work my way off here, and then when I want to be able to put the the bull bar on and off, I just undo the bolts on the inside here. So I'll just have to try and design it in a way that I can actually access up underneath or down from the top, or something like that to get to these bolts just here. So she's nice and solid on there. It's not going anywhere. This thing is really locked on there. There's a lot of bolts holding it on. Pretty much we're ready now. I think I'll mount the winch on tomorrow, and then we'll start looking at the plates that go around this whole winch assembly to figure out sort of what we're going to do. This has helped me by getting this on. I've spent the hours tonight getting it on so that the rest of it will be smooth sailing, but I can almost guarantee that there's going to be a lot more late nights like this. So 11:30 at night and I haven't had dinner. I'm going to go in, have some food, go to bed, get up at whatever time, 7 maybe, and get cracking straight back into it. So yeah, this is going to be fun, and yeah, no complaints. Alright, I'll see you guys in the morning. Alright, good morning guys. It's about 8:30 in the morning. I've had a bit of a sleep in, and I tried calling around for a few alternators and things like that. So it looks like we might have one today to be able to put on. I'm starting today in the shed because outside the cicadas are just so loud. You can probably still hear them. So the bull bar bracket went on last night. You guys saw that a bit. It was a bit dark, so I'm going to give you a bit of a walk around, show you everything again. So this is how the bull bar bracket looks, bolted on the front. It pretty much has 4 bolts down this side, 4 bolts down the next side. You use 2 of the existing hardware, and then it's got these 2 back pieces, one here that goes all the way under, and then a little triangle one across there. These are 2 U-bolts. Those are 2 U-bolts up there that bolt in, and then these are just a single bolt through the chassis. So it's all pretty simple to go on. I've cranked these down as hard as I can, and then obviously I'll go over it again before we're finished up, but it's not going anywhere. It's solid as. And then obviously the winch mounts on there. These are the fins I'm talking about. So it'll bolt through there, and then I'll make another fin off there for the actual bull bar, and that's how it'll all attach and stuff. But yeah, same on both sides, like that. I've got to tighten these ones up still, they're loose. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and under here you've got this bar. That is pretty much to mount your bash plates to. But yeah, this is what we're looking at. Alright guys, so, well, today did not go as planned, although it was still productive. This morning you would have seen me put the winch on. I bolted it all down, I Loctited it, and then I ended up torquing it down. So I done a bit of research online and torqued it down to about 44 Newton meters, was what I found on a couple of different forums. So the winch bracket is now on, the winch is on, and although we were going to start doing the front bumper pieces, we had a few other things to do today. So the Colorado is now back up and running. We've got the new alternator in there, nice shiny new one from Repco I think it was. Nick actually come around and helped me install that, so that's all back together now. So a lot of my day got taken up by, I had to do rear brakes on the Mrs. car, so you know, safety before awesomeness I suppose, and you know, it's a good thing to keep your vehicles safe before you start doing nice pretty mods. So our maintenance is out of the way for these cars, they're back up and running. It was a bit sad having 2 cars down, and to be honest, that Mazda took me forever to do the brakes on. I will see you guys maybe Boxing Day hopefully. That's the next day I plan on doing it. Obviously family things come tomorrow, but other than that, we will be back into this ASAP.
Tomorrow for sure.
Good morning everyone, Merry Christmas, and I apologise for the cicadas being so loud around here. I'll try to keep this short, but today we've obviously got all the bracket and the winch and stuff on, so we're going to get cracking on the section where the winch guide will run through. I've got some 6mm steel over there. That's what we're going to be using to mark all that up, as well as the fins that will weld to the bull bar and then bolt to the bracket. So this isn't too loud, we're going to get cracking straight into it and you guys will see what I get up to. Rightio, so I've been playing around with some cardboard for a bit to try and figure out how I'm going to go about bolting the bull bar to this bracket. I've come up with a little bit of a design for the plate, so it's going to look a little bit like this. This is kind of what I'm going for. This is the top, obviously. I'm going to have, from the plate, which is this part, I'm going to have a 10mm gap around the whole thing. So that's all 10mm. That's where the existing holes are. It might not look like much for you at the moment, you can't really understand what I'm talking about, but I'm going to cut this out of the 6mm now, and hopefully you guys will understand what I mean. But it's kind of going to sit something like roughly that-ish. So you can see that 10mm gap off the bracket is what I'm talking about up there, and then also down that side. They will bolt through on this side of the bracket. I'm going to do 2 of them that are exactly the same. And yeah, that's how we're going to go for now. So I'm going to get a piece of this 6mm. I'm going to clean it up a bit, make it back to the normal metal, and then I'll draw it all up, mark it all up, and cut it out, and make 2 of them, obviously, and see how we go. Awesome. Rightio, again with the cicadas, I apologise for it being so loud, but I have just finished making and drilling those end pieces that we're going to start building the bull bar off. So as you can see, we've got them here, this triangle-y sort of piece. I've bolted them through loosely, so it's just sitting there for now. I'm going to tighten it up to exactly where I want it so that it matches the other side, because the other side's on as well. Yeah, so drilling 12mm steel because 2 6mm plates is interesting, and broke 1 bit out of the 6 of them I think I used. So I basically started with a 3.5mm bit and worked my way up till about 13mm, which I think was a 1/2 inch is what I used, I believe. So my workbench is quite messy at the moment, but this is the ADR approval rules book I was telling you about. So it's basically got all the different measurements and things inside of it that tell me what I need to do to make sure it's all good. And then at the back, I can get it. At the back, it also has a checklist to go over it. So at the end of the build, basically, I'm going to go through all these different questions, and you basically mark yes or no to make sure that they are ADR approved. So that's good for that. There's just my instructions for the bull bar bracket, that doesn't matter. But what I've been doing is playing around, looking at all different pictures of bull bars that I like, things like that. And my design I'm kind of going for is something like that. I know it's a rough sketch, and I haven't shown it in like 3D and stuff, what will be, you know, tucked back and things, but that is a rough idea of what I'm going to have in my head, or what I do have in my head and what I'm going to build. So you guys can see it, that's a rough estimate picture. And if you can kind of see here where I've drawn that, that's going to sit back further, a bit like a muzz bar. So that'll be a flat piece, but these will be on an angle on that lower piece. And then up this little skinny bit here, I'm not sure if I'm going to make that just open or if there's metal there. So we'll find that out as I do it. But yeah, that's kind of the plan, and we'll see how we go. Rightio, so I've been playing around with it all a bit and figuring out how exactly I'm going to do it. Now that we have these side pieces on, the original plan was to run a piece of 6mm steel from that corner there to that corner there, all the way across to the other side. But the problem being with that is how I'm going to make this winch, the fair lead sit. It'll sit just on there like that. And because it's stepping back a little bit, the problem being is that if I do a really steep pull, so that I need this rope to do a really steep pull out of a hole or something like that, what's going to happen is if I have a piece of steel that's running down to that height, then this rope will rub on that underside of the steel. And that's not ideal if I want to keep this rope working and not tear it. So what I'm going to have to do now is, because I plan on putting my number plate up on this flat piece along here. Basically I'm taking this right back as small as I possibly can. So it's about 85 mil, my number plate's about 83 mil. So it'll be just fit on there. And I'm basically going to run a piece of steel from that point there. Rightio, so we have just cut and tacked on this front section. We've got 2 tacks down on each side there. It's solid as, it's not going anywhere. Thanks to my mate with his welder bringing it over. We're going to use that for the next week or so to get all this tacked up, and then we'll be going to see Kazpam to completely weld it up properly, because neither of us know how to do really nice welds. But yeah, so first piece is on. That's awesome, and we're going to play around with doing the next pieces, a few drinks in hand, and be a bit of fun. Rightio, night 2 done and dusted. Today we got a bit done. It was a little bit slower than I first originally thought, but we got some bit more done in the end, and we actually got the welder tonight rather than tomorrow. I have a rough picture going on in my head and it's sort of just coming together as I go, really. So, you know, it's always the best plans when you've got no plans. So we'll see how we go. For now, it's about 9 o'clock at night. I'm going to start packing up, go have some dinner and stuff, and then we'll be back out early in the morning to continue on, getting that grinder back out, making a bit more noise and pissing off the neighbours.